Alright guys, on this video, we're going to look at functions that now their degree is bigger than 2. So it's going to be bigger than a quadratic. If you look at number 1, you see the degree is 3. If you look at number 2, the degree is 4, right? Because you have 2x to the 4th. So our whole goal is we're going to go back and use synthetic division, and we want to get this cubic function, we want to get it down to a quadratic. Because if I can get it down to a quadratic, I could either factor it or use quadratic formula. Now the important piece of information they give us for number 1 is that they're saying x minus 1 is a factor of this f of x right here. So if x minus 1 is a factor, right, if you set that equal to 0, you get x equals 1. So really what they're telling you indirectly is that x equals 1 is a 0. So if I have a 0, I'm going to use synthetic division. Hopefully you kind of remember this. This is where I'm going to take, since this 1's a 0, I'm going to take that 1, put it in the top left hand corner, and then I'm going to take all the coefficients and I list them out right next to that top left number of 1. So it's 3x cubed, 4x squared, negative 5x, and negative 2. Okay, I'm going to put a line. And right here, this is our remainder. We should get this to be 0, since they're telling us that 1 is a 0. So if you forget how to do synthetic division, what we want to do is we're going to bring this 3 down here. So I bring that 3 down, and then we're going to multiply. So really I'm just going to multiply here, and then we're going to get 3 here, and then we're going to add and get 7. And you just keep multiplying and adding. So 3 times this 1, right? 3 times this 1 is 3. 4 plus 3 is 7. And then you multiply here, this 1 and this 7. So 1 times 7, 7. And then when we add negative 5 and 7, we get 2. 2 times this 1 gives us 2, and it works out. When I add these, negative 2 and 2 cancel out, and we get this 0. So what this right here is, this is a quadratic. So whenever you do synthetic division, your degree of the original function goes down by 1. So if I started, my exponent was 3, now the exponent is going to be 2. So what I've proven is that, yes, x minus 1 is a factor. And then this bottom line, this is the key part, this is a quadratic, this is what we want. This is 3x squared plus 7x plus 2. And now this becomes a problem just like we did for the warm-up. So now what I want to do with this, I want to try factoring it, or if it doesn't factor, I'm going to use quadratic formula. And I believe this one does factor. The 3x squared plus 7x plus 2, this factors 2, I believe it's 3x plus 1, and then we get x plus 2. If you weren't sure, then, FOIL these two out. And let's see, 3x squared, yeah, that does work. And then since I have all these factors, I'm just going to move it over. Now I can find the other zeros. Well, I know that x equals 1 was a 0. And then if I take this 3x plus 1 and set that equal to 0, you get negative 1/3. And then if we take this x plus 2, set that equal to 0, we get negative 2. So these are all the zeros. So if we graph this cubic, it's going to hit the x-axis 3 times, at 1, negative 1/3, and negative 2. Alright, so we want to use synthetic division and get the original function down to a quadratic. Alright, let's do one more. Alright, let's move this up. Okay, remember, if you don't understand something or if I went too quick, just go back, just rewind it. So on this one, now they give us, I have a degree of 4. Right, so I have to use synthetic division twice to get it down to a quadratic. And they give us 2 zeros. So since our degree is 4, they give us 2 zeros. I have to find the other 2 zeros. So the order doesn't matter. I'm going to start with the 4 and use that in synthetic division. And then put the coefficients for all of these. So it has to be in order from highest degree to the constant. So we have what? 2x to the 4th, negative 7x cubed, negative 8x squared, 14x, and 8. Okay, and I should get this remainder to be 0. If I don't, then I did something wrong. All right, we're going to bring down this 2, right? And then multiply the 4 and the 2, we get 8. Add negative 7 and 8, we get 1. Multiply the 1 and the 4, we get 4. Negative 8 plus 4 is negative 4. Multiply negative 4 and 4, we get negative 16. Add 14, negative 16, we get negative 2. And then multiply negative 2 and 4, and we get negative 8, and it works out. Now, this bottom line right here, this is a degree of 3. So now I want to use synthetic division, but I'm going to use the other 0, negative 1/2, so I can get this bottom line to be a degree of 2. So let's use synthetic division with the negative 1/2. I'm just going to continue. Okay. And again, I should get this remainder to be 0. So I bring down this 2. 2 times negative 1/2 is negative 1. Add 1 and negative 1, we get 0. 0 times negative 1/2 is 0. Add negative 4 and 0, we get negative 4. And this negative 4 times this negative 1/2 is positive 2, and it works out. Now this is real key. That's my quadratic. So this quadratic is 2x squared. Now since this is 0, it's like saying 0x, so we just have minus 4. So then to find the last two zeros, I want to solve for this. I want to set this equal to 0. Well, you could see we could pull out a 2, and then we're going to get x squared minus 2. Now I can't factor that x squared minus 2 because 2 is not a perfect square. But if you just set the x squared minus 2 equal to 0, well, you're going to see x squared has to equal 2. Take the square root of both sides, and you're going to get the last two zeros to be plus or minus root 2. So if you graph this 2x to the 4th minus 7x cubed minus 8x squared plus 14x plus 8, it's going to hit the x-axis 4 times at plus or minus root 2, and then at the other two zeros they gave us, which are 4 and negative 1/2. All right, but the key thing is, based off the information, we want to use synthetic division to get that original function, to get the highest exponent to degree down to 2. Then we try to factor, or if it doesn't factor, use quadratic formula.